from inside the vents, inside a spaceship where there's one imposter. I wonder who it could be. This is Running Rogue, with me, Ricky Rogue.
Me, Chris.
I'm Haley.
And today we're here to bury episode 3 that will never ever come to see the light of day.
Rich had to buy a new computer. Well, build a new computer.
And the old computer decided, oh, now it's going to start failing, but I have the footage from, well, I guess the audio from it, but my new setup doesn't accept the audio, and every time I try to get it to do it, I have other weird audio issues, to the point where I just said, fuck it, we'll do it again.
It's because you cheated on your original PC, man.
Well,
Don't you know? It is. Look. That's why I like cars, okay? You can trade your car in, and it's not going to take half your stuff when, you get the nicer, newer, more beautiful model. Okay? Marriage, you lose half your stuff. Computers, if you keep the old one around, they just, decide, I don't want to work for you anymore. They Julie it, okay?
I really need, Editor Ricky, I really need you to go get that meme and just put my stupid ass face on there and take I guess take a picture of both computers and put it in. You clearly did it. Okay. Moving on.
For those of you at home, and for you, I will walk around our job and just find random sticky notes that says, to future Rick, do the thing from past Rick. Just randomly everywhere.
To future Ricky, can you code these out? Thanks, past Ricky.
Literally.
I don't have time to go and code it out right now. People are on my ass about it, so I just take a sticky note, make sure I remember, because I'm not going to remember. The future Ricky's an idiot, past Ricky's worse.
Listen, you know that phrase, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whoever said that did not realize that myself is a fucking idiot. Okay? I've been playing Farm Simulator.
I've been playing Fall Guys.
I have that. I played it for a little bit, but I can only play it for so long because I get frustrated. It brings a smile to my face, but I eventually get frustrated because I suck.
After about 4 L's, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just switch out.
Yep. It's kind of like us on Warzone after losing 6 matches.
No, I still have fun.
Yeah.
I don't care. I can lose miserably in that one. And that's all my own goddamn fault.
Yeah.
No, it's not my goddamn fault. Fucking Seesaw.
RPGs are not our fault.
RPGs are not our fault, but also we were dumb.
We
were dumb.
We were, but to be honest, okay, so that guy that you heard in that audio clip, and if you guys haven't watched where Rich and I played Call of Duty Warzone, it wasn't too awful long ago, a couple of weeks.
I mean,
if that.
According to when this video comes out, if I edit the 4th Shining Force video, it should be the 5th video after this one.
Yeah. But go back, watch that. Specifically, it's towards the end. There's a beautiful moment where, because we didn't have a camera for my screen, unfortunately, but you see me open a door, you hear, oh shit, and then you hear a guy die right outside the door. Now, what I saw on my screen was I see the glint off of a sniper scope, and I see this guy right in front of me get shot and killed. I'm pretty sure that bullet was meant for me, and that guy just happened to catch it.
He fucking caught those hands.
So I lucked out there. We ran out the other side of the building and immediately got hit with an RPG and killed. It was just mass murder. We probably should have taken our chances with the sniper, but
one of us would have lived.
Dude, Now, one other moment that was beautiful on there is when I kept shooting at the guys across the street from us, but you were hidden. I'd go down, you'd revive me, I'd start shooting again, and they were like, how is he not dead?
The fucking mercy. I'm like, rise from your grave!
Don't do it! Bam! Okay, I'll revive you again. Just don't peek that window. Bam! Oh, damn it. Now I'm gonna revive you again. That's literally what that was. It was beautiful. I can't imagine the frustration on the other team. Well,
I mean, I main a healer, so like that was my job.
I know, but so I've been gone for the past 3 days. So what's been going on in your life?
Shit, Ricky, sound interesting. Sleeping. Shit.
For real.
No, I've been working, and then I've been editing, and then I've been working, and then I've been editing, and then I played a bunch of Betrayal games, and then I've been working,
and then editing. I've been sleeping and playing Farming Simulator, and sleeping and playing Farming Simulator, and taking her to work and playing Farming Simulator, and then sleeping. Tomorrow will be nice.
Interesting? No, just work.
Work and sleep.
Work.
Work, sleep, take the dog out.
Feed the cats. Clean the house.
Like in the last podcast, if you haven't heard, I'm just cross-promoting all over the fucking place. If you haven't heard the Internet Soapbox, that's the other thing we did. Hopefully, to be honest, this video will probably come out before that video comes out.
That is very fair.
Because I will be editing it. Not tomorrow, I'm going Halloween hunting, but probably Monday I'll be editing this one.
Yeah.
As if I don't edit Shining Force. No,
So.
I'm not going to edit Shining Force.
Now, tomorrow will be kind of interesting for me at least, because we're going to the racetrack again.
Alright.
So, hopefully, we got the race car that was tore up last time we went to the track, got into a really bad wreck. Got it put back together, have no idea what it's going to do. The truck qualified first. We finished 5th just because we had some issues throughout the race.
Shout out to your team.
Yeah, I mean, Lawless Motorsports been grinding as much as we can with Corona going on because that's throwing a wrench in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing, guys. Like, we have so many plans. We have so much cool stuff that Rich and I have talked about doing. Corona hit, and everything's been sidelined, and we're just like, I work and I sleep, and we record a podcast every once in a while.
I mean, to be completely fair, even if Corona didn't hit, not much would change for me.
That's fair, but we would still go do some things. I mean, there's a lot in Greenville that's really cheap that we could make content out of.
I'm going to be buying a better camera soon. It's a mobile one that also works with this. It's great.
That'll be awesome. I did see something I want to do with you at some point. It's that Le Mans go-karting. It's all indoor, so you're not outside, and I think it'd be fun.
I have painful memories of go-karts.
I'm not gonna put you in the wall intentionally.
That's literally the problem. Okay, so when I went, when I lived in New York, every year I would go to Lake George, New York for basically my family vacation. And there's so many like amusement centers all over that area because it's a tourist trap. Well, it's not really a trap because there's actually shit there, but it's like a tourist destination, and I fucking love it up there. It's beautiful mountains with this gorgeous lake and everything. Well, not everything, but so many things you can do there. And a lot of it is like go-karts, mini golf, arcades, stuff like that, and of course like 3 major theme parks.
Right.
I say 3 major. It's like 1 major theme park and 2 others. But when I went go-karting with my family, I had mostly the usual bad experience people get with go-karts. Stuff that doesn't really faze me as much. Idiots who sideline you or they're going to hit you in the back, you know.
Yeah.
My cousin got it worse where she got railed because the guy couldn't find the brake.
Yeah.
And went right into the station and hit her from behind. I mean, nothing painful, nothing hospital related. But she got whiplash and she was very young and she's very sensitive. So as soon as it hit, she cried the entire day.
Yeah.
But the big one for me that made me realize I don't want to do this is there's a no bumping rule for most go-karts. Because it's not bumper cars, it's go-karts.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't mind getting a little close in contact with other cars. It's go-karts. There's no way around it. The problem is that when I see people, specifically my cousin, in front of me, turning around and giving me a shit-eating grin, not looking in front of them, and I know that if they get into a wreck, I'm going to get into a wreck in a go-kart. And I don't want to get into a wreck in a go-kart because, 1, you get banned from the place, which I think is the worst thing because I like going there.
Right.
2, that's damage I don't want to deal with myself. And 3, I'm out of control.
Right.
There's nothing I could do to stop it. And that's what I don't like about go-karts is as much control as you think you have, as soon as someone's a fucking asshole, and most people who do go-karts are. Most people are. Every time I go there, there's always that group of guys who goes like, I'm just gonna fucking do wheelies in the middle of the fucking track. And I'm like, that just stops the fun. It's their fun, sure, but it ruins the fun of everyone else's.
Yeah.
And that's what kills me. I can't do go-karts for that reason. It just, like, every time I'm like, I want to go have fun, I can't have fun. I have to be in constant panic mode because as soon as I get behind the wheel of the go-kart, it's not just me on the cart and the track doing my own thing where I go, yeah, I can go and, maybe not spin out, but, drift a little bit, do stuff like that. I can't do that. I have to worry about other people.
Right.
And now I'm just a babysitter on four wheels.
Yeah. No, and I get that. And that's the kind of the cool thing on Le Mans, which I want to look into it more, but Le Mans, you can actually go, and like I said, it's all indoor. You can actually schedule a certain time where it's you and a group of people. So we could, like, selectively choose the people we want to take. So, like, I could get Magnum. He's one of the race car drivers down there. TJ, his dad, people like that to just go and...
But going back to something I like on the topic of drugs, as someone who's only gotten high once, I don't see the appeal.
I've never gotten high. I don't have the desire to. I drink, but very, very mildly, and I only drink at home. Like, I will not drink anywhere else. And when I say mildly, like, the second I start to feel anything in my head, I stop.
That's how I used to be. I get a buzz, ride the buzz out, done.
Yep.
I gave up alcohol, but
I probably will at some point. Like,
cutting out the end of the story I'm going to tell, because the end is something most people probably want to hear, but I'm not telling. Let me tell my pot story.
Go ahead.
So I know I've told you this before. You're new to this. So we did basically a thing called Music Night in college, where we would put music on a stack on YouTube and we would listen to it. And everyone would put their own thing in, and we would talk about it sometimes and whatnot. We decided one day we're going to go to my friend's apartment, and we were going to get high while doing Music Night. We did a thing called Chill, where we would put on experimental music, usually no words, and we would close our eyes, listen to it, and we would tell, did we have a story? Did something come to our mind? Did we visualize something? And we would just, do that. And as someone who's a storyteller, that's kind of my thing. When I listen to music, I see the story in my head. So I'm like, well, let's all try that. So we've done that for a while. And everyone would walk in and be like, are you guys on drugs? I'm like, no, we're not on drugs. This time we were. So we go to his apartment because if you're going to do drugs, be safe about it at least. At least. We had a buddy system. We had people who were sober, who were caretakers, who were going to watch us to make sure everything went well. When they ended up doing shrooms, they had a strict buddy system, and I was not about that life.
No.
I wasn't there for that. They did it in my room, too, and I wasn't there for that. I went to, at the time, my girlfriend's house for the weekend, and they said, oh, this is the weekend we're going to do shrooms. I'm like, cool, I'm not there.
Yeah.
So I went to the apartment, and we basically were like, well, I can't smoke because lung issue. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to inhale necessarily because that just bothers me, my breathing. They said, well, can you ingest? And I'm like, oh, you didn't? Yeah, sure. But, like, it has to taste good because you saw me not eat half my dinner tonight. Like, I have a texture taste thing that bothers me.
And it's not like he had a heaping plate either. It was like a
tiny
piece of chicken and some carrots. Like
chicken, it was like pork.
Okay, well, a piece of meat and some vegetables, as vague as I can get.
As people say, I eat like a bird.
3/4 of the plate was
This plate.
No food on it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he still couldn't finish it.
So, I basically, was like, well, what are we going to do? He was like, oh, friend decided they wanted to do brownies. And I'm like, I'll do a brownie, sure. So, my friend pretty much cooks it, brings it that night, and as we're there, she goes, all right, well, she brought it but didn't stay. She had to go because she had something for class or whatever. It's college. It happens. So she leaves. She's going to come back. We all take a bit. Now, we had people who were experienced, and then everyone else who's never done it before. And then we had a couple of people who were there to keep watch to make sure everything was fine. So as we're sitting there getting ready for this, we all take 1/4 of a brownie. I was unaware of how this would work, so I figured I'd eat the quarter, and I'll pretty much be fine. Like, I'll get high, like, within an hour, and everything will be great. Hour goes by, I feel nothing. No one feels anything. About another hour goes by, and everyone's like, we don't feel anything at all. And they said, like, oh, well, maybe we'll take another quarter. So we take another quarter. So
That's where you messed up.
No, that was the first mistake. So we took another quarter. About half an hour goes by. We're still not feeling it. We're almost getting to the point where we want to do chill. And we're like, clearly she didn't put that much in it. I mean, it tastes of weed. So we're like, fuck it. We'll eat the other half of our brownie. So we eat the entire other half of the brownie.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, no.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so we ate a whole fucking brownie serving. That's when she comes back and goes like, so how's everyone doing? And we're like, I don't know, it's not that strong. Like, no one's really high. And she goes, what do you mean? Like, actually, I tried one, like, earlier today before I came here. Like, I put way too much in there. I'm like, what do you mean you put way too much? That's like maybe 10 minutes after that conversation happens. My friends can't stop eating pretzels that are in front of him. And he can't tell us why. He doesn't understand. He's like, I just can't stop eating these pretzels. And that's when my other friend goes, oh my God, it's happening. And she goes, everyone, gravity is that way. And I'm like, what do you mean? Oh my God.
Yep.
That was fun. I will admit that was fun.
So, a couple mistakes I'm going to point out. And again, this is coming from somebody who's never done drugs, but I know people who have. Your first screw up was you ate the whole brownie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The worst screw up, and I've got to ask this question after I state this. You ate a quarter, you waited a little bit, ate another quarter, and then waited a little bit and ate another half.
Yeah.
So that first high was not the full high.
No, you understand.
It staged itself, didn't it?
No, it didn't. Because
really?
The idea is that we didn't eat. Another problem. We didn't eat before we did this. So our digestion system wasn't activated until we ate the full brownie. So it's not that it came in stages. It was, we could have had a little high. We could have had a little excess of a high. We're fucking high as balls. By the time the weed kicked in, we had the whole brownie. So it was all kicking in.
Okay.
So
it was cooking in full afterburner at that point.
Yeah.
How long did this high last? I'm curious.
So it was different for everyone. And basically I had a friend drive me home who was sober, because don't drive with people who say that it's okay when they're high. Don't do that. Just don't.
Don't drive drunk. Don't drive high. Don't put yourself at risk. Yeah, especially in 2020. Call an Uber. Yeah. If nothing else, call an Uber, guys.
I had friends who, like, drank a lot, but we were always very responsible about it. My friend, I'll give a shout out to Gino, because he's super cool, because no matter what, we always had a ride, and it was never with someone who was drinking. We always prepared ourselves and planned ahead for that, so always cool about that. And never high. I can't stress that enough. And luckily, one of my friends literally came in to check on us, and he said, well, I'm going back up to Pete. Do you guys want to go? And I'm like, please. And I had my girlfriend with me, so we both got to ride up. And that's where I cut the story. But the next day, I wake up. I feel fine. I'm sober. It only lasted the night. It smells the next day, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything reeks of weed the next day. You sweat it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good thing I don't have to go to class. This would be a problem.
Yeah.
We planned it for a Friday to Saturday, so that way we didn't have to worry about it. Like, we planned it. I don't do anything without planning it. So everything goes right the first time, and we don't get fucking stuck somewhere, because that's happened before.
Must be nice. We don't do that with the race team.
Oh,
We're
I
like,
can't
okay,
even think.
Tri-County, this is a 3-day trip. We're just going to hook up the trailers, throw the race cars in there, and see what happens in the next 3 days.
I get a head count. I know how much money I have. I know who's able to buy and spend things. I know who's getting rides. I know how I'm leaving. I know how many people I have to take home. I know the distance to where they live. I know where they live. I prepare everything to the letter. And I give wiggle room because, of course, you can't plan for everything to be perfect, but you gotta give it wiggle room. But I make sure that I know what's going on. So whenever I ask people on Discord, like, hey, who's down? That's the reason. I don't care if you turn around and say, I really don't want to today. And I'm like, that's fine. I just need a head count.
Right.
If you can't do it, I'm not going to force you to have fun. That's not my prerogative. I need to know.
See, that's the thing. Like, and that, this is going to sound really bad. Every single person that goes to the racetrack with us is perfectly content with sleeping on a concrete floor.
I mean, I've done it.
And that sounds bad, but you have not slept until you've slept on a cold shop floor. Oh my god, it's amazing.
No, I've done it. I hate it. I've done it for cons, and I'll never do it again.
See, that's different though. Race shops are different, trust me. I don't know what it is.
I feel like carpet is at least a tiny bit more softer than cold, hard floor.
Believe it or not, it's not. Because when you're laying on your back on that cold floor, it's just so amazing. And I think part of it, too, is exhaustion along with everything hurting and just being on a flat, cold surface.
That's fair.
That's probably what it is. And like I said, I feel like there's multiple things, but you have not slept until you've come home from a race and fallen asleep on a concrete floor.
To finish your other question, though, my ex, though, when she woke up in the morning, woke up high.
That's
it lasted until lunch. So we woke up at 9 in the afternoon the next day because we ended up turning in early, kinda, sorta, in a way. She basically woke up still high. We ate breakfast. She was still high. We got to lunch. That's when she's like, I think I'm finally coming down because she's not tired. But she's also like, I'm slightly low energy, and my head is. I feel like my head is finally still. I think I'm not high anymore, and I'm like, all right, cool. On Halloween, someone gave us drug candy. Gave us basically liquid THC in like a sucker form, except without the stick. Ellen wanted me to have some, and I said, I'm good. I'm fine. One, it reeks of weed. I don't like the smell of weed. And two, I'm like, I really don't care. I had it once. She knows how it turned out. I'm like, let's not.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't have the desire. I don't like being out of my head. As scary as a place my head is, I don't like being out of it. Like so, that's why when I drink, I get the buzz. I quit drinking. So
I'm not going to encourage you to go smoke or do weed because it's a personal preference. But you don't. Okay, so I can't say that because everyone's experience will be 100% different. Weed doesn't make you feel, well, at least for me, doesn't make me feel like I'm losing control. It's just like it makes you feel a little weird. It's like almost having a pleasant headache. Yeah. You get the same kind of sensation you get with a headache, but everything feels good. Yeah. And it's weird. It's not like a pleasure good. It's more of like a numbing kind of good. And it's weird that way. And that's why I don't like it, because at the end of the day, it's like, but like I feel like nothing's good. Everything feels good, but I feel like there's no. I don't feel like dynamic in it. Like when you feel really happy and you feel like that, like if you laugh hard enough, similar feeling. Yeah. Almost exactly the same. Like when you're having a really fucking good time and you're laughing and you're almost crying because of how funny something is, and it just keeps going. Same feeling. The only difference is it goes away immediately and you go back to like this zero sum. Yeah. And I like that feeling of being able to come down after that. When you're high, you can't come down. You have to wait for it to allow you to come down. And I'm like, I don't know, that's just not for me. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a drug person. Yeah. I barely say I'm an alcohol person. I mean, you drink, you're an alcohol person. It's just, you're not an alcoholic, but you like alcohol. Right. I can't drink it.
I do have
had
some
bad-
stuff that
bad
will
things with
mess
that.
you up right now. It's that Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire. The problem with it, it's smooth and it's got a bite because it's cinnamon whiskey. So I mean, obviously it bites, it burns, but it doesn't feel like you're drinking alcohol until it hits you, and when it hits you, it hits hard. Like you go from no, I'm good to oh, I'm not good. Like I am drunk. She will testify to that. It is just you're drunk. There's no buzz to ride. It's just you go, I'm good to I'm drunk.
And that's why it's a drink I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize it until I started mixing. Well, not mixing, but like taking a shot of it, and then I'd have some Coke or something, and then I'd take another shot of it and have some Coke, and next thing I know, I'm like tripping over my own feet. I didn't even realize I was getting drunk.
Yeah.
No, we've got some stuff we need to do.
I would love to run you through one of my campaigns, but my campaigns take forever.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to cloud everyone with all the GMs and everything. I'd rather just do my one-offs, especially. This is definitely coming out before October. I swear to God I'll end it before October. October, we're doing Dread, and we're doing Call Cthulhu. So Hannah's got hers, I'm doing Dread. Every Sunday we're doing one or the other, and I have planned so much shit. It's going to be great.
They're horror, so it might not be your thing, but
Yeah,
she's even more opposed to horror than I am. I can do light horror, but
I mean, I'm not going to go as terrifying as I did in college. I used to throw people at walls. So I don't do that here.
you
Really?
made Hannah cry.
I did. That was unintentional.
It was. I mean, we all felt bad, but you made Hannah cry.
I felt bad because I wasn't even intending it to be scary.
No.
But to be fair, screaming at people and doing sudden jump scary things is a trigger for people, and I really didn't think about it when I did it. But to be fair, it was kind of funny.
It was kind of
Not
funny.
that I had
It was
crying,
cute.
just when I was doing it, it was funny.
It was.
And I felt bad.
And then we were like, oh shit.
I think like the scariest thing that I've ever watched or anything was World War Z. To me, that was like the scariest, but then I'm able to handle it after I watched it. So like that's about as far as I go.
I like psychological stuff.
I like thrillers too, but I grew up with like Chucky and Scream and all the horror stuff, like the cheesy stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Glass House?
No.
It's older, like
I have not.
early 2000s. It's really good. Well, I'm not gonna say it's not like Academy Award winning good, but it keeps you interested. There's a lot of shit that goes on, a lot of psychological stuff, and it's one of those movies where you kind of sit back and you're like, holy shit, I wonder how many times this has actually happened in real life.
And that's why I Saw the first one, because as everyone's like, oh, it's a horror movie, it's a psychological thriller, because there's no real horror. There's a little bit of body horror, but it's so few and far between. Most of it is just like, you're in a room, there's two people who are just pieces of shit, and you're told, one of you can get the key and walk out of here. You just gotta saw off your leg and get it. And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then you find out, no, it's not the... Spoiler alert, the body in the middle of the room isn't dead. That's the joke at the end. Well, not the joke, that's the twist at the end. The body in the middle of the room isn't dead, it's a dude, and he's got the key. And he's also the, I believe he's the killer. And he just walks out, he doesn't even kill him. He walks out of the room with the key. That's it. It's a brilliant movie. Like, the original Saw was fantastic. All the other ones are awful. I can't say that because I enjoyed 2. It's bad, but I enjoyed 2. And 2 was also psychological. But what's scary is it's very cringy because some people do stupid shit and you're like, no, you don't need to put your hands in the trap. But you do anyway. There's so many ways around this fucking trap. I can't believe you're putting your fucking hands in the trap.
Yeah.
Oh, I need the serum. Let me reach into this one-way thing instead of taking a stick.
Yeah.
You know how many sticks are in that fucking building you could use and get the key? Or in this case, get the serum?
Yeah. Well, like Glass House, it's more... I'm going to try to summarize it for you without giving too much away, because I would like to watch it with you. It's more of, family, mom and dad go out for their anniversary. Something happens to the car, they go off the road, die.
Yeah.
Which you don't see that. It's all off screen. And then the kids are taken in by a couple who was close friends with the parents, and ends up like there's this whole money thing going on where they're getting a bunch of money off of it. A lot of like abuse, just stuff like that. And it's like I said, it's all more psychological, and more kind of a look into, like I said, it makes you wonder, holy shit, how many times this kind of stuff happened.
As someone who's seen the other side of that kind of stuff, I know that like when I talk with people and they're like everything, like there's things could happen behind closed doors. You can never trust.
Yeah, like I said, it's more like that. Now, have you seen Disturbia?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never actually.
It's kind of cringy. It's got Shia LaBeouf in it.
Oh,
but it's pretty good. The one where the neighbor's a serial killer.
Well, isn't it supposed to be like a possibility of serial killer, and at the end they I'm not sure if I'm thinking the right movie where he thinks he's a serial killer.
Yeah,
Shia thinks he is.
Yeah, he thinks he's a serial killer. He's on house arrest, and they end up proving it.
Oh, right.
Like the guy actually tries to kill his mom. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. That's the kind of stuff I'm into. They've got their scary moments, but they're not.
Well, the scares are more in the back of the mind, thriller kind of scare.
Yeah,
you're scared for the person. You're not scared of what's on the screen.
Yeah, and on top of that too, I'm a person who, I don't like horror movies for the simple fact that 99.999% of them are just stupid decisions.
Oh yeah.
And like I know, Cabin in the Woods, it kind of tried to explain that, but
it doesn't explain it. It
makes fun of it.
Yeah, it pokes fun at it. I love it.
At the end of the day, like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's why you need to watch Cabin in the Woods.
I've seen it.
You seen it? Okay, perfect.
I didn't care for it because again, it's not my kind of movie.
I forget who didn't see it that we had to force to see it because it's funny. It's a funny movie, especially the people who like horror. It's hilarious.
I liked it up till the end.
All right, guys, we gotta stick together.
The gore for me was just it killed it.
Yeah. Well, the gore was necessary because it was a joke how much gore was in it.
But I'm not a blood and gore kind of person.
Neither am I. That's why I don't like blood and gore.
I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. You can shut it off. Like,
but you gotta get to the very end. It gets really good at the end. But the idea, and I know I probably should throw a spoiler warning all over this fucking video. But like with Cabin in the Woods, like I said, my favorite line is, "Okay, should we all stick together? We gotta, the power in numbers." And then they pump the smoke into the room. On second thought, we should split up. And then the stoner goes, "Are you fucking stupid?" And I'm like, yes, this is the best goddamn movie.
But no, like I hate.
I walked into that movie thinking it was going to be a horror film because at the time that's what they tried to convince you. You were watching a horror movie. This is 100% a horror movie. That's what the advertising was, and everyone who's seen the movie walked out of the theater saying, it's a horror movie. It's the scariest movie you've ever seen in your life. Just so the joke hits harder when you go and watch it. And you're like, this is not a horror movie. I love it more.
Yeah. What was that one where it was the couple and their house was possessed and they kept trying to catch it on the camera?
Oh, Paranormal Activity.
No, not Paranormal. It was the comedy.
Oh, Haunted House.
It might have been. It was the one where they called the cousin over.
Yeah,
he starts like talking shit, and they're like, "Shut up, you're gonna piss it off." And he was like, "I don't give a fuck, Keisha."
So either it's a haunted house or Scary Movie like 6.
I don't think it was a scary movie.
Think it was a haunted house.
I think so. It looked very low budget.
I think it was made by. I think the haunted house was made by the Wayans brothers, and then
that's very possible.
And then Scary Movie 6 was done by the studio that kept ruining their movies.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Wayans brothers, kind of jumping track from horror movies. I know we're kind of in that season, but jumping track from that, Major Pain. Please tell me you've seen that movie.
No, I have not. I'm not.
My little sister is offended. We're watching that movie. I swear, sometime in the next couple weeks, you and I are going to sit down and watch that movie. I have it on DVD. I had it on tape at some point, but I don't know where that's at. But that movie is just amazing.
Here's the deal. I'm going to do a thing where we're all going to Unfortunately, audience at home, this is plans and stuff you're never going to see. But we're going to go and we're all going to pick... We have to pick the absolute one movie we need to show each other. The one movie that we absolutely have to show each other. And we're going to do 1 week... every week, at least 1 week when we can go see it. We have to sit down and watch one of those movies. Because I got one that I have to show everyone. And I've said, if I have to show everyone I love this movie, they need to see it. It's called The FP. And anyone who's just heard what I said and knows what that movie is fucking dying of laughter right now.
Okay, I'm down as long as... Because like I said, I'm not a horror guy.
I'll give you a summary of this movie.
Is it that one you showed me the clips of? Maybe.
Two rival gangs are fighting for control over Fraser Park. And they do this through Dance Dance Revolution.
Yep.
It's a well-made movie with shitty actors, with shitty writing, but the camera work is fantastic, and the lighting, and the framing, and it's a bunch of people who know how to make a movie, making a shit movie just because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah.
And I love it. I quote that movie all the goddamn time, and no one fucking gets it. When I say it, and everyone just says nothing, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
So...
Shit, what's a fucking town without any dukes?
So, what, Wayans Brothers and their style of comedy. Opening scene in this movie, this guy's like, something happened to his legs. I don't know if they got blown off or broken or something like that. They're out in the battlefield, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, pain, my legs. They hurt, my legs. And he goes, you want me to show you a trick on how to deal with that pain? Give me your finger. And he takes his finger and he snaps his finger in half. He's like, my finger! My finger! He goes, works every time. It's like maybe, and I'm stretching it, 15 minutes in. So the premise of this movie is he was in the Marines, got kicked out of the Marines, and then they brought him back into the Marines, but as a ROTC instructor at a private school. So this kid's like 6, right? And he's like, I don't like shots. He goes, you want me to show you a trick to help with those shots? Let me see your finger. And he's like getting ready to snap this 6-year-old's finger when the nurse comes around the corner. It's just... comedy like that throughout the entire thing. Another one of my favorite ones is they were running the obstacle course in the middle of a thunderstorm. And he's like, y'all need to run this course faster. And they're like, we can't. He pulls the pin on a grenade. And they fast forward it. Like it looks like they're just booking through this course. And this one guy's like, guys, it's a dummy grenade. And next thing you know, he takes that grenade, chucks it into the tree line, it goes off and knocks a tree down. He just looks at that kid and goes, who's the dummy now? We've got to watch it.
That sounds good.
You're like, we're watching that next week.
Because I know Dino will come up and say we have to watch Hamilton, which I agree.
I'm down with, see, like I said, I'm down with stuff like that. I'm down. I want to watch Avenue Q.
There's no movie version. You have to go see it live.
I know. Which COVID.
Fuck.
I want to see Avenue Q. We gotta watch Major Payne. Like stuff like that. I'm totally down with. Horror, I'll probably skip those just because it's not my thing.
Broadway, fucking make Avenue Q a fucking video. God fucking damn it.
Even if it's like a recording of.
Yeah, like Hamilton. Like, yeah. I'll watch that. I'll fucking watch that all day. It's actually really good to see it on stage because it's funny. Before we cut to commercial, so we can do the second segment.
And we got a roll for that too.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But before we do that, I want to just state my experience with Avenue Q is going to fucking Broadway. And going and sitting with like people who are like, oh, I'm gonna trade stocks. Well, not Nate's type of stocks, but like, oh, I'm a stock trader and
Wolf of Wall Street type.
Yeah, people. Like all these higher upper class, like they're showing off with the fashion and everything, sitting in a fucking theater, fucking puppets having sex on stage, and their faces of like, what am I watching? This has awards, and I'm sitting there fucking dying laughing. Like, this is my humor. This is everything I love. This is so fucking hilarious, and they're just sitting there like, This is poor people humor is pretty much what it is. It's about living in New York and being poor. That's literally what the whole play is about. And it's so funny because they get everything right.
It's my life. Except I didn't live in New York, but I've been poor my entire life.
Yeah, but poor in New York is different than poor anywhere else. Poor in New York, you have just enough money where if you go anywhere else, people be like, man, that's a lot of money. Not in New York, it isn't.
See?
You still drive
that
on,
just means
you still
it's
drive
not
over
as
potholes.
bad. I lived in the Midwest, okay? You know what our phrase is in Indiana? In America, you drive on the right side of the road. In England, you drive on the left side of the road. But in the Midwest, you drive on what's left of the road because they're not potholes anymore. The road's just gone. There is no road. It's gravel because they just said, fuck it.
That's upstate New York because all the money, and I know Neeks talked about it on the Internet Soapbox, is all the money that goes upstate goes to New York City.
Yeah.
And while I didn't live in the city, I lived in the suburbs of Long Island, all our money went to the city. So
that's
when people
kind of
like,
what happened here. Like in Indiana, all of our money went to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
We had our town finally got a huge racetrack. And when I say racetrack, I mean horse track, fancy NASCAR track.
Fancy NASCAR.
Casino, like huge complex, made a bunch of money. People were traveling to go to it. And how did it get advertised to the rest of the country? Come see the Hoosier State Park just outside of Indianapolis. Screw my town. We're the ones who built it. We paid for it. Indianapolis had absolutely nothing to do with it, but people travel to Indianapolis and then drive 30 minutes to go to the casino because screw my town.
That's why I tell people when you go to New York, fuck the city. I mean, if you're going to be in the city, Brooklyn and Queens. Manhattan, if you have shit tons of money you can spread around, yeah, go to Manhattan. Go to fucking Long Island and you just eat real pizza. And of course, yes, it's still a city. Queens has some of the best pizza. Brooklyn to an extent. Go to a real Italian restaurant. And I'm not talking about like an authentic Italian restaurant. I'm talking about a New York Italian restaurant. Because it's different than authentic Italian.
Yeah.
Authentic Italian is nice and fancy. New York is like, it's full of fucking grease and it tastes amazing. It's gonna suck when I say it because if you haven't, your reaction to this determines whether you had one or not. You go to New York, you eat a dirty water dog. You do it. If you're grossed out by that, you've never had one. If you're like, man, I fucking want one right now, you've had one. Because they're the best hot dogs. And the secret sauce is alcohol. Because that's how they clean the water.
Yep.
They pour beer into it.
I miss, what was it they made it out of? Was it pork? You would get a sandwich and it'd be like, normal sized bun and then a plate sized slab of deep fried pork and then bun on top. That was your sandwich. Like you could you probably would get nowhere near the bun.
No. That's why everyone's like, oh,
but like
shares with friends. Who would eat that? No, don't put me in there.
But it is so good because what they do, and when I say it's plate sized, it's huge around, but it's only like this thick. Yeah, like it's maybe a quarter of an inch, and that's with the breading. Like it's very thin. Mm-hmm. But when they do it like that, it's so good. Like it just there's something about the way they prepare it, and oddly enough, catfish was a big thing up there too. Mm. And elephant ears. I keep seeing people down here, they're like, oh, we have elephant ears, and they're like, honey bun sized. Yeah. Like, that's not a freaking elephant ear. Like, our elephant ears were the size of an elephant's ear.
And that's what I think about the pizza that's here, because when you go to New York, you get a large pizza, that's a 16-inch pizza. Yeah. You come here, you get a large pizza, you're lucky if they hand you a 12-inch, and you're like, what is this personal pan garbage?
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to feed a family here, sir.
If you go to the city, though, you get the giant ones. You need 2 hands to eat. Yeah. And they're all right. Like I said, Manhattan has okay pizza. I know if anyone's from New York, they're going to probably argue because some people will swear by Manhattan pizza. No. Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau County has great pizza. They used to have really good pizza until half the Umbertos changed their recipes. Because fucking you can't have good shit. But like one of the things I miss the most about New York is the city specifically, is standing online for a concert and being able to walk 2 feet to the guy selling dirty water dogs and get a dog and a drink for $4.
Yeah.
And then eating it online, and because everyone knows how New York City is, there's garbage everywhere. So you could just, garbage cans everywhere. So you can always, at the end of the line, toss your shit out, because everyone knows. Everyone knows the drill. It was great. I'm people blind because of it.
I honestly, you just reminded me of a comedian. He goes, I keep seeing these signs that say "Don't litter." He goes, I'm in New York City. He goes, it belongs on the giant pile of garbage, which is the street.
You're not
because
necessarily
if you
wrong.
throw it in a trash can, it's going to end up in the ocean and around some penguin's neck, and it's going to strangle it to death.
The problem is you're not wrong, because we used to just dump it in New Jersey, but then they started asking us to stop.
Yeah, I mean, how dare them?
How dare they? That's literally what they do. It's literally
Why-
Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Why are they throwing it in the ocean? There's so many landfills.
Well, the thing is, they're not throwing it in the ocean. They're taking it by barge, and it falls off the barge, and no one gives a shit.
Fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, there's landfills all over Long Island. Well, not all over Long Island. It's the end of Long Island up to mostly once you leave towards Westchester County. There's landfills up there. A lot of them are in New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey as a whole is a landfill. I would apologize to New Jersey, but they're still arguing that the Statue of Liberty is theirs.
Yeah. I'm not into all that rivalry. Like I said, I just hate Indianapolis. But
no, I'm a New Yorker who also hates New York, so I mean...
There's several reasons why I hate Indianapolis, too. One of the funniest things when I moved down here is I knew this kid. You've lived in Easley long enough.
I'm going to bleep that out.
You've lived in our town long enough.
Yep.
Is there any place right now, and guys, it is pitch black outside right now. Is there any place in our town that you would not go walk right now?
Yes, but not for the reasons you think.
Because you're afraid for your life. Let me specify that.
That's better. There are areas, yes.
But not like afraid because, I'm just
It's not like where I
immediately
lived.
gonna get killed.
It's not like where I lived. I feel like I can sit outside of my house, just outside on my property, and feel safe.
Yeah.
I did not feel like that in New York.
Yeah. So this kid came from some apartments, and again, full disclosure, I will walk through those apartments in the middle of the night at any time on any day and have absolutely no fear whatsoever. They're actually a few blocks away from here. Like it's not that bad. But he thought he was hood.
No.
And I was like, bro, you don't know anything about the hood. He goes, I live in these apartments. I said, whoop-de-frickin'-do. Indianapolis, you can walk down one street. I said, I'll be fine. You'll get shot. I said, you can go literally to the end of that street. You'll be fine. I'll get shot. I was like, it's so crazy. Like, there's, you know how they say neighborhoods and blocks and all that? Indianapolis, one side of the street to the other, and literally like the sides of the street. Like the right side will be one gang, the left side will be another gang. There can be 4 or 5 gangs on one street. There's places the police just don't go because it's not safe. They will get shot at. And this is way before everything going on in our current, like this is back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, even before that. Like pretty much since this city's conception, it's been this way. But like you don't know what the hood is, dude.
You don't, because I lived on Long Island. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's all hoity-toity." No, it's not. No. It's really not. And I lived on. I called it the checkerboard, where you had places of this area is fine because it's kind of close to a school. This area is not, even though it's close to a school.
Yeah.
And we had a road called Craven Lane, and it was where a lot of gang activity was. There's always high fences with bullet holes.
Yeah.
And I lived 3 blocks away from it. So I was always worried. And one time I ended up on Craven Lane for a party.
Yeah.
That was not fun.
Yeah. The second you realize you're in the wrong neighborhood. And again, that's not even looking at it from a race thing. That's just there's places if you don't belong in the neighborhood, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, but that's the problem with where I was, is that everyone, it wasn't even necessarily a racism thing in this case. This was straight up gangs.
Yeah.
This is straight up like...
you do not belong here, we're going to kill you.
Yeah, and the problem with where I lived was... Okay, the problem and solution, oddly enough, came hand in hand. We had a really bad gang problem when I was a kid. And for 5 years, I was wondering what happened to the gang problem for 5 years. We didn't hear about gang fights. We didn't really hear about shootings. Like, are they covering it up or something? No. They killed each other, and it took 5 years for them to get back together and start doing shit again.
Yeah.
They solved their own problem. They killed each other.
Yeah.
And I didn't know as a kid, they were doing it on Craven Lane 3 blocks away. So I had a fun game that I used to play in New York. Is it fireworks or is it gunshots? And every night you would hear pops. And it could be one or the other. You had a 50-50 shot of either or. Because New York made it illegal to use fireworks. Didn't stop us on the 4th of July, but whatever. We used to do fireworks because my friend's dad knew the chief of like the not police but the fire department,
fire chief,
and they basically said, "Look, they're not going to stop you on the 4th as long as you're safe about it." And we weren't, but you know what? It was fine because he knew people, so we were okay. But people would year round, whenever in the middle of the day, shoot a firework out. So you can't even be like, "Oh, it's in the middle of the day. That's probably a gunshot." No. That's too easy. People shoot fireworks in the middle of the day because why the fuck not? They have them.
You've lived in the South long enough to know. We just like to blow shit up. I mean...
There's nothing different than in New York. We used to do that too. I mean,
know.
not me specifically, but I knew people who like to do that. They take M80s, put under garbage cans, and see how far they go up.
Oh, that's nothing, man. Take tannerite, put it under a garbage can and see how far it'll go up. It gets really sketchy really quick when that thing shoots 50 feet in the air.
Yeah, but I live in New York. That's really hard to get. We can get M80s. We'll go to Pennsylvania and get them and bring it up. That's fine. We'll go over the bridge illegally for that.
Yeah.
But, all right. I'm going to have to end it here for this segment.
Okay.
I hope you enjoy the ads that we have after this. Probably just me telling you to go subscribe to all our shit. Go subscribe to all our shit. And welcome back to the Running Road Podcast. I almost said the Soapbox Podcast.
Dork. We found the imposter, by the way.
No, it was totally red. I saw him kill a guy like a minute ago.
No, it was blue.
No, it was red. I swear.
It was blue.
No, I talked first, so clearly we're throwing him out the hatch.
Who do you think it was?
I have no clue.
Yeah, that sounds like a regular Among Us match.
Yep.
But now we're
not sponsored.
Oh yeah. So now we're at the segment where we choose our overall topic. Now, normally this is already done on the end of the episode. But episode 3 we had a fuck up and we decided, fuck it, we're just gonna start from scratch. So Haley, our guest, is gonna be rolling our die for today for the topic. Alright, give us a roll.
10.
History! Yes! Yes!
You sound excited, so I'll let you lead.
Alright, we've settled on doing film history as our topic. Have you guys seen Citizen Kane? I'll take those blank, empty expressions as no. Alright, so I'm going to start here because this is like... Some film buffs are going to yell at me about this, but this is like the birth of like the traditional cinema, is Citizen Kane. From the way that they had camera angles to the way that the scene itself was actually reflective of what's going on. That movie's fucking overrated and I hate it.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I will take your word for it.
That's the movie where the meme Rosebud comes from.
Okay.
Because that's how the movie starts.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. The movie is excellent in how it's been portrayed, but the fact that people are like, "Oh, it's such a good..." No.
I feel that way about Titanic.
Titanic is awesome.
Titanic is a fucking horror film.
I love Titanic, but it's too long of a movie.
Okay, hold on. She just asked a very good question. How is Titanic a horror film?
It's not.
All the women lived and all the men died.
That's also not historically or true to the movie.
In the movie, it is.
To be historically correct.
Did nobody see when the ship broke in half, the guy fell in between them and banged off all the shit?
That was funny, to be honest, with the sound effect and everything. It was stupid.
Just ping, 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 ping. I'm on the Bill Burr train on Titanic. I'm going off. I'm ranting. I'm on the Bill Burr train. He said it perfectly. That poor guy right there proved that it was a horror film. He got dressed up not because he wanted to, but because his wife felt like being fancy that night. And they're standing there, I love you, and just all of a sudden the ship just starts to sink. And then he gets stuck on it. She's sailing away on a fucking lifeboat. He's watching her going, I didn't even want to dress up tonight. And the ship breaks in half. And he just falls, bangs off all the shit, and dies. Tell me that's not a horrible movie. And then they're floating on top of a piano top, and they're like, there's no room. There's multiple pieces of evidence that prove there's enough room for them to play checkers.
It wasn't piano. It was
yes,
a door.
it was.
It was a
door.
It was a
door.
I'm pretty sure it was a piano, but either way, there was enough room for them to play checkers.
They proved it on the door as well. They actually have an image. It's like 10 poses they could have made, and they both could have floated on the door.
And then she's like, I'll never let you go, Jack. I'll never let you go. And let's go.
Yeah, that's what
that is just such a horrible movie.
Have you seen the deleted scene at the end?
No.
The scene when she throws it off the boat is the scene they went with. There's another scene where she is stopped by them. I agree with all their points. She's fucking insane.
That entire movie is just trash. The best part is the old lady.
The old lady is the girl.
I know, but that's the best part. She's the best part of the entire thing.
So you're saying the girl that was crazy and like go Jack is the best?
No. The young Rose sucks. Old Rose is awesome.
Just because she's aged doesn't mean she's any different. She threw the fucking heart of the sea back into the sea.
Yeah.
They spent fucking millions of dollars to get
she
over
was
there
a
and look at the goddamn boat.
She was a smartass.
So was Rose. Young Rose was a smartass too. I'll never let go. Whoops.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, my blood pressure's come back down. We're good.
Well, it was supposed to be a romance film, but
it turned into a fucking horror film.
No, it came out to more like people
I hate
make
that
fun
movie.
of it.
Yeah. I hate that
Not
movie.
a horror film.
It's a quote unquote natural tragedy is what it really comes down to, because like movies like that that spun off from that is like tragedy movies came out for a long time after that. We're gonna go from film history to like actual history because I fucking love the Titanic.
No, I love the story of the Titanic. I hate the movie.
It's very close though. Like James Cameron got very anal about it and got very close, but the events on the ship are not accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
But how the ship went down and everything was accurate.
Yeah. Like how the ship looked, some of the crew members, they actually got accurate people to portray actual people who were on the ship. But the order of operations in which the ship went down is skewed for dramatic effect, which, fair enough, it made for a really interesting movie. I like that movie. It's too long.
That is another gripe. It's so long. All the guys die. I mean, the best part, most of the guys die. At least the asshole dies. The boyfriend, he dies.
Yeah,
that made me happy.
Well, that was the fiancé, I think.
Yeah, the fiancé. Fucking gets decked and then dies. I love it.
Simba and Nala, that's a love story.
No. Disney love stories are not love stories. They are horror films.
That's fair.
I've known you for maybe 10 minutes and I'm already in love. Oh, isn't that great? We're gonna get married together. They're the good guys. I like how Frozen turned that around. I was like literally Elsa turns to her. You've only known him for like 3 hours. What the fuck?
Frozen is probably the best movie ever. Okay, best Disney. Sorry, Disney movie.
Hunchback of Notre Dame came out. That exists.
Okay.
I was gonna say Tangled because that was
Tangled
the first.
Was good.
That was the first film I ever watched.
Modern
in theaters,
best,
and I love Tangled.
Best modern non-live action movie, Frozen.
Modern non-live action movie
from Disney.
From Disney.
Frozen.
Moana.
Fuck you.
Moana is amazing.
Every song is beautiful.
Yes.
I love the voice actress for Moana and how she sings.
I totally forgot about
that. The plot fails. That's where Frozen picks up. The plot of Frozen is better than Moana.
I love Olaf. Olaf is the greatest character. That's what I'm getting at.
See, I like Elsa as a character, and they don't focus on her enough.
No.
Anna as a character, clearly the main character, and focusing on her was fine, but she's kind of blandish. They try to make her interesting, but they really forget the idea of, show, not tell. And yeah, technically they try to do that in the montage, but that's a really visual way of telling you. It's not a showing like, oh, in her secondary action, you can see personality. It's like, oh, she has a personality. She does weird things with the paintings. That doesn't really amount to anything in the story. This doesn't really show her personality in the story. With Elsa, you really feel it throughout every scene. But we don't focus on her.
No.
I have to say that's why I like Frozen 2. Frozen 2 is better than Frozen.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. That's another one we
Oh
got.
my gosh!
Like I said, I kind of ran away from movies for a while because their commitment. That's a 2-hour commitment.
Yeah.
Well, I think
We're gonna have to come back to them.
Frozen 2 is not in 2 hours. I think it's an hour.
Well, I think after 2016 is when I started dropping out of movies and started going into more long form media. I prefer because you can have the time to build up characters. We got away from history, but
we did.
You have more time to develop characters in a long form. I feel more connected, like Korra. I feel more connected with the characters because I can stick with them for episode after episode after episode, even if the series isn't that great.
Yeah.
But with
Last
movies, you have to do it in 2 hours, and when you're done, you're like, I kind of have a connection with these characters, but now they're gone. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's another movie made about you.
No, and I agree, Moana, because Moana focuses really on 2 characters.
Yeah,
and that's it.
And I like how with Moana they actually took time to travel to all the Polynesian places, which made me so happy. Because being brought up in the Polynesian thing, I was always looking for a Disney princess to be close to that, and the closest I found for the longest time was Pocahontas, even though that wasn't even close.
That's a real bad one to connect to.
I didn't really connect to it.
Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch, but she's not really a Disney princess. She's not part of it.
Well,
she wears a dress and sings a song.
To be fair, how many Disney princesses are actually princesses? Cinderella.
Only 2. That would be Moana and Pocahontas. Those are chiefesses.
They're not princesses.
No.
They're chief's daughters. Doesn't count.
Yep.
Cinderella is Cinderella doesn't count.
Nope. Cinderella's not a princess.
She becomes a princess.
Nope.
Hold on.
Nope.
She marries the prince.
That doesn't matter.
Aladdin.
Depending on the culture. Princess Jasmine is actually a princess.
Yeah.
A sultan's daughter is still considered a princess.
So
Only
then
one.
the chief's daughters would be...
Nope.
Nope,
The chief's daughter is not considered royalty because chiefs are not royalty. It depends on culture.
Well,
it's like Polynesian, when you're in royalty, you're known as chief and chiefess.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
that
she's
is a fair argument.
I don't think the children are considered.
They are.
They are.
And in this specific case,
I'm gonna have to actually trust you on this one because I'm not as familiar. So I'll take it.
Unfortunately, I
will allow Moana.
I grew up in it, so Moana, by technicality, we'll call it out. It's not a knockout; it's a technical knockout.
Unless you're Poland, it doesn't count if you marry into royalty. That is actually a European thing. If you're married in, you're just the other set of chromosomes to make an heir. You do not count. If you're married to the king, you are the king's consort. If you're married to the queen, you're the queen's consort. You are not king or queen. It doesn't count that way. So if you're married in, it doesn't count. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, well, isn't she the princess now that she married the prince? I forget their names. Recently, the current, one of the princes who married the actress.
Yeah.
Technically not a princess by rule of, basic rule of law. She could never take control of a kingdom.
Right.
Because it doesn't work that way. The way the crown falls, this is back to history again, we're back on topic.
There we go. It always finds a way.
In England, the way it works is the king, let's say the king dies. It then can go, if the king does not have any sons or daughters, it would be allowed, I believe, to go to the queen. No, it doesn't. It goes back up. So let's say, to make it easier, the king has a son and a daughter. By new rules, it goes by who's ever oldest. By the old rules, it automatically goes to the son. So let's say the son rules as king, he has a son, and his son has a son. If the son dies and the grandson survives, the crown still goes to the son. But the son's dead, he's no longer allowed to be king, it moves down to the son. So if there's a brother, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
It goes through the sons. So that's how it goes. So that's why you can't be like, oh, I married into royalty. If they die, I become queen. That's why I fucking hate this show, Catherine the Great, which is funny, by the way. It's a funny, funny show. It's a little more vulgar than it should be, but it's a funny, funny show. I hate the fact that they're like, oh, well, if the king dies, then you become queen automatically. No, that's not how it worked. Catherine literally fucking stole the throne, and it's an amazing story that they're not telling. And I hate it.
It's crazy how technical royalty gets too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's mandatory because without the technicalities, you need a power structure. You need a power structure because without power structure, it's anarchy. Yeah. And I hate to say that as someone who prefers democracy, but you need that power structure. And even in democracy, you get that, but that's given by the people. Unlike monarchy, where it's I have it, bigger army diplomacy. Yeah. But going
peace
back,
through superior firepower. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. So going back, Cinderella is not a Disney princess. Yeah. Neither is Snow White.
Rapunzel would be a princess, right?
Rapunzel is the only 100% European princess.
Yep.
In the movies. Nope. Anna and Elsa, 100% princesses.
It's Anna and Elsa, not Anna and Elsa.
You just America, got corrected.
I'm gonna say Anna.
This is America.
This is America.
You keep saying the there's no
America.
This is America.
America.
America. See how much better that feels?
Yeah.
That's actually Nordic.
I'm slowly redneckanizing Rich.
Oh, I've already in one of my videos talked about how I go in and out of a southern accent in fucking New York.
Oh yeah,
yes, and I noticed that when we were sitting there talking about it. I was like, he's going to New York.
Back to New York. Oh, now we're in the South. No, he will eventually become a full-blown redneck.
No.
Yes. No. You will always have your heritage. You'll always have your roots. But eventually... My heritage is fucking meatballs in Italian. Hey, oh, bibbidi bobbidi. See, now just throw a little bit of gunpowder and lead in there and you're good.
Then I just become Mussolini and useless.
See? We'll get him there, guys. Don't worry.
But yeah, that's Anna and Elsa.
Anna.
They are princesses. They are Disney princesses. Yep.
Her Moana by technicality. Who's the other one we said? Jasmine.
Jasmine is technically.
Pocahontas would be too if Moana is, because then.
Pocahontas isn't because Native American is completely.
No. Yeah, so Native American, they don't call them chiefs. They don't call the chief's daughter princesses. They're just the chief's daughter.
And they're not considered royalty.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the men are, to an extent. They're heirs.
But even still, it's not a royal. Yeah.
Except in the Iroquois, which is a completely different thing, and I could go on about the Iroquois.
Well, I think typical Native American culture, I still don't even think the chief was really a royalty.
It depends on where. In the Western America, they didn't really have as many chiefs as in Eastern because of the river valleys. Right. There's a lot more chieftains because their mobility was a lot more close quarters. The Iroquois had legit chiefs because they had to, but their chiefs were elected, which is where we got our system from. Is a little bit of Iroquois, a little bit of the British, a little bit of Dutch, and that's how we came, and a little bit of the old Roman Empire. And that's how we came to the American style government with the Articles of Confederation. And then we talked to the Iroquois more, and that's how we got. We mostly decided we're going to go more British. And that's how we got the Constitution. Right. Because we realized that the Articles was really bad when the states had all the power and there was no central government. Yeah. That was really bad.
Yeah.
We were still fighting war.
And that's the thing. Like you got to have a little bit of a balance on each. Like I don't think the federal government should have absolute power. I don't think states should have absolute power.
Because the problem is you need the states to follow central authority so that we can be united.
Right.
But the states need to be free to do their own thing since they're the ones who are closely related to their constituents and their needs. So that's why there needs to be a balance. And the problem with the Articles of Confederation was the states are here because they want to be here, and central authority can go suck it.
Right.
And that was an old problem with why everyone, well, not everyone, because the states were 100% didn't give a shit if they were British or American. It was only a few rich people who really wanted to not be British because the British were taxing the shit out of them, even though they really weren't. I love the American Revolution. I fucking love that history. That's my kind of history.
The American Revolution is, you got us here, fuck you.
No, it was more like, hey guys, we're all cool here. We love being British and all, but we want our own authority over here, but we still pay taxes to you. Oh, cool. So, you guys fought this war? Well, we did fight this, and you helped a lot. I mean, you're the mother country. You should be helping us fight off the French and all their forts and claiming this land. But now we have all this land. We're going to spread out and do great things for you. No, you're not. Wait, what do you mean we're not? See this little line, this proclamation line? You can't pass that because that's Native American land. To be fair, the British were very nice to the Indians at first. And then they got fucked. The Americans are the ones who fucked the Native Americans up. Let's be straight. The British would have, eventually, just like they did with the Zulu, they would have totally fucked up the Native Americans, but not right away. The Americans are like, no, let's speed this up. We want this land. Yeah. Fuck the natives. And the British are like, no, we're using them for trade, and we're using them to keep a borderline between all the other nations. We're trying to respect their rights until we find something we want, and then they can go fuck themselves then. But until then, we don't need to do that. And Americans are like, nah, man, we'll take the trees. Fuck it.
Literally.
Now going out of history into sociology.
We jump around a lot.
The idea is that people do things based on a moral code, but there is no set moral code.
Right.
Morals are meaningless bullshit that we teach ourselves to make us feel better. And while that sounds really negative, it's necessary for human growth. You need to have your own ethics. And within ethics, your morals come through, but your morals will never be the same as someone else's. Someone who thinks human sacrifice is fine, sees nothing wrong with it. What's wrong with it? Because to them, that's not a big deal. For us it is, because our morals and ethics say, well, that's a waste of a life, that's taking someone's rights away. What is rights? That's that concept? Fair. It's a human concept that is meaningless to nature. Nature doesn't give a shit. It doesn't matter. We make it matter because we find value in that. And that's where it comes down. Europe had a very strategic place where we can put value on life, because life wasn't just eat, sleep, breed. In third world countries, you'll find that becomes a kind of a thing because their environment isn't friendly towards humans.
That's fair.
And we forced it into that situation. And now they have a harder time living. Their value of life or their value of monetary things or their values are different because of their way. That's why in America, we've had humans in North America just as long as Europe. Why did Europe develop cities and only very few areas in America did? Why is it only the Mayans had cities? There were no cities in North America.
That's fair.
They were nomadic because that's how the food was. You couldn't raise animals in America. America didn't have raisable animals except for maybe llamas in South America where the cities were. In Europe, pigs, cows, sheep. You had every type of animal you could domesticate.
That's fair.
So now you can have cities. You can have big areas of commerce. You can have a value in money. Go to North America now with your values of money and your ships and your iron, which you can now forge into things. Where America had iron, but no one had the means to dig it up. They had no value in digging it up. Their value is in, we need to gather. We were the planters. North America was, we can plant fucking anything, and it will fucking grow. And that's when Europe was like, oh shit, what the fuck is corn? What the fuck is this shit? This shit's delicious. Spices? I'm gonna get a little off topic on this one. You know, most wars were fought over fucking spices.
I know, right?
World War One.
I know, right? No, that is entirely true. Had nothing to do with politics or gold. It was you have the paprika.
I mean, gold was a major factor, but it was also I want sugar. Get me sugar. Well, how do you get it? You fucking kill the population and you fucking take it.
Couldn't trade anything with them. No, we have to go and kill everybody.
So, I don't know like how to slide into it or probably getting off topic, but to go into history and stuff, I think the best, I don't know if you would count it as a film or a show, but Liberty Kids.
Oh my god.
I love Liberty Kids.
I was literally just watching that yesterday. I love it, and they're bad at teaching history, but they do teach a lot of the really good points that happened in America, and I fucking love Liberty's Kids. It's a shitty show, but I fucking love it because they actually get a lot of the history right, but they really soften it up, real bad.
Yeah. But for like me, I had a hard attention span with school, so my mom would put that on for history because if she put lectures or anything on, I got lost in it. Couldn't tell you what actually happened in history, but if you played Liberty Kids, I could tell you all that happened in history just from watching Liberty Kids and getting interested into it and actually reading about it.
If you want a longer rant about the thing I'm about to say, please listen to the Internet Soapbox. Hopefully this episode will come out, but I did rant about the education system, and I'm about to do a slight mini rant about it right now.
The education system sucks.
The education system and how they teach history is fucking bullshit because they teach it where dates matter, but it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is the story of what happened and in going through, and that's why Liberty Kids is good.
Yeah, that's why my mom showed me it, because I'm homeschooled, so that's what my mom sat down and did for me. She would put that on, and then I would go through the books and read it, but because I got interested in it from Liberty Kids.
Yeah.
But if you sat down and read the book to me, I would just look at you and go, I learned nothing.
It's very bland. It was like on July 14th of 1963. The Vietnamese did this and the Americans did that.
So let me give you a good example of the differences in how to learn. If I could be a professor for a second and be like, so in 1776, the American forces fought the British in the Battle of Bunker Hill. They basically fought off the British for hours, they were repelled, and they eventually left. No, let me tell you how you're supposed to fucking learn it. So these assholes are fucking surrounding Boston. So what are you going to do? Well, we need to take Boston back. We're going to first start off by holding on to this very important hill. It's not Bunker Hill, by the way. They didn't fight on Bunker Hill. That's where the camp was. They fought on Breed's Hill. They basically had a fortification up there looking over where the British were going to invade to take the hill. The hill was somewhat important, and it doesn't matter why it was important for you to understand the historical reference of this battle. The idea is the Americans were outnumbered a great deal, and they only had enough gunpowder and shot for 3 shots. That's it. So the British, the best fucking military in the goddamn world, start charging up that fucking hill, and they were basically like, when do we fire? The guy, I forget the name, normally I'll give the names, I've forgotten the guy's name, basically says, this is how we're going to do it. You do not fire until you see the whites of their eyes. That's where we get that saying from. Where they basically said, when they get up close, that's when you fire. Only 1 shot. Be as disciplined as possible on this. We don't have enough powder and shot for this. So we fucking repelled the British 3 times before finally they had to bring in their fucking navy to pull us off the hill. We killed more British than Americans got injured in that battle. So when the battle was over, what the quote they have in Liberty's Kids is actually brilliant. When they're like, we won the battle, that's all that matters. And the guy says, it was just a hill. You lost hundreds of men for a hill. That was useless. And guess what? We kicked them off that fucking hill when we had George Washington actually drag down fucking cannons from northern New York all the way down to Boston, set them up in one night, and kick the British out of fucking Boston by setting up defense works, and
Yep.
basically telling them, you either leave right now, or we start putting cannon fire on Boston. We don't give a shit. Now you know. Now you can go back and find out the dates.
Yeah.
You can find out the names of the people. Because now you're invested in, holy shit, what fucking happened?
Yeah.
That's how you learn it. Clearly not with all the swearing. But
what,
that's how you learn history.
What battle was it that the Star Spangled Banner was wrote about?
That doesn't happen until after the Revolution. That's the War of 1812. Right. And that was a battle we lost.
It was.
We lost that battle.
We did. But that story right there, and why it makes me mad when anybody disrespects the Star Spangled Banner, and it's nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with movements. It's don't disrespect that. Out of everything you can do, please don't disrespect that, because the pile of bodies that held that flag, that's what you're disrespecting. To me, like I said, in my eyes, you could do anything else.
Who's someone who knows about the War of 1812 and how it was the most pointless fucking war?
It was, but I'm talking that specific thing, the Star Spangled Banner and what it was wrote about.
It was wrote. Basically, I'm going to tell you right now, I do love the Star Spangled Banner and the American anthem. I don't feel like a nationalistic pride when I hear it. I feel pride in the ideas that it's the little man fighting against the big man again. But in this case, it's not just about a losing battle. It's about all this shit is happening. And at the end of the day, it's not the dead pile of bodies around this flag that's meaningless. It's the idea that we still fight.
Right.
You still carry on. The world is fucking collapsing. The White House is goddamn burning. You're fighting literally over things you fucked up already because you couldn't just let the British go. You had to fucking torture them, and you didn't hold up your end of the treaty, so they ain't gonna hold up the end of their treaty. War of 1812 was just American Revolution Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, and you're sitting there, and that's why I don't have great respect for the national anthem, but I like what it intends. It's the idea that you continue the fight no matter what, because at the end of the day, you're here because you're defending what is yours. Knowing the War of 1812, that's not necessarily true, but then we're going to ignore that for a second, because that's all about the fact that we didn't want the British taking our men, and we wanted them off our forts, but they would be off our forts if it wasn't for the fact that we fucking torched New York City because it was loyalist.
Yeah.
When we told the British, no, we'll let them go, we'll let them leave, and then we didn't.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I fully understand that. But for me, like I said, and it's not just that, but that is something that our military specifically has held that level of commitment and that spirit of it doesn't matter what shit we go through, we will not go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I mean, there was a pile of bodies holding that flag.
Because they didn't want the flag to touch the ground.
Yep.
Iwo Jima. That flag should never have been planted, but those men planted that fucking flag.
Yeah.
You know, it's stuff like that, like I said, when you disrespect the national anthem, it is a slap in the face, specifically to our military. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I disagree. As long as it's... Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think you should I don't think disrespecting the national anthem just to disrespect... If you're disrespecting just because you're like, fuck America... I'm like, I mean, you're wrong, but, like, I don't live in North Korea where if you even for a second falter in your nationalistic pride, you're dead.
Right.
I like the idea that someone could stand up and say, fuck America, and be within their rights.
Yeah.
I horribly disagree with your statement, sir, but I'm willing to die to protect your right to say it.
Right.
And that's why when people protest like that, once again, I'm not getting too political, but when people protest like that, I don't say they're just disrespecting America. I'm like, no, America's allowing them to be able to do that. And I find pride in the idea that you can stand, you can kneel, you can hold arms in unity. It doesn't matter. The flag symbol is specifically the right that you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And
I understand that.
I don't like disrespecting the flag because I personally love my country. I know it's got flaws, but what country doesn't? Right.
Well, and I kind of have an extreme opinion on that. Oh, I say extreme, but my opinion on that is the way it is because I've had a lot of friends and family that did not come back from war the same way. which is almost worse than losing them. Because
Yeah.
I mean, my uncle literally fought in Vietnam. To this day, not the same person. They've I've had my family tell me he was not the way he was
When
or
he
the
left.
way he is when he left. He's more edgy. He's more aggressive. But he's also watched 6 of his best friends be killed right in front of him.
And it changes the person.
And he would have. He would have been next. But, he did artillery. And a sniper kept shooting the guys that went up. Because they had like a gun on top of a bunker. They kept shooting the guys that would go up on the gun. So it was my uncle and one other guy were the last 2 guys. And, guy was like, get up on that gun. He's like, get rid of that sniper. I won't go out there. But, he literally risked getting court-martialed is the only reason he's still alive.
But the thing with that is, and I'm going to preface with no matter how historically accurate the statement is, you don't go up to a Vietnam vet and tell them that war was a waste of time.
No.
You don't do that because that's disrespectful to their time. Because Vietnam was bad. The people fought in it were not. That's the difference.
You can hate the war and not the warrior.
Yeah, well, the warrior's told to go there. If it was their choice, they wouldn't.
Especially in Vietnam, because a lot of people don't realize most of those guys in Vietnam were not volunteers. They were not getting paid. They were drafted. Yeah. They were literally told, you either go fight this war or you go to prison.
And they're doing it because we were so afraid of communism. And, I mean, this is with 2020 vision, clearly, because at the time, there might have been a real fear. There might have been an actual real thing that you think communism might actually spread. 2020 vision says, no, it wouldn't have. It would have collapsed under its own weight. Fucking Tetris would have told you why. Because the history of that game is so fucking fascinating. The fact that Russia had to play capitalism with America to get a game. Just one game that one guy made. It had to get sold worldwide. And the Russians couldn't figure out how to do it. And it's fantastic watching the whole history of all these game programmers coming in and being afraid of their lives. And to the point where they would go into Moscow, say, we're coming out with a deal because I'm not coming back here. Yeah. I either leave with Tetris or I don't come. Either I leave with Tetris or I don't, and I don't come back. This is it. We're done. And that shows you how bad the ultra communist idea would have never lasted in almost every country. Even in countries where we're like, well, they're still communist. Like Cuba's still communist. Not really.
Yeah, a lot of communism mixed with capitalism.
Yeah, China. No, there's economic areas that have to be capitalistic so they can compete on the world stage. Right. You cannot have pure communism anywhere. It was going to collapse, which makes Korea tragic. It makes Afghanistan tragic. It makes Vietnam absolutely tragic because none of them needed to happen. And that's all because the Russians and the Americans were just fighting each other because they thought their ideas were better. And if we just let it happen, if we just let Korea do its own thing or Vietnam do its own thing, yeah, the communists might have won those. What's next? They feared the domino effect so much without realizing, but we're supporting nations like Japan is like the pride of that, where we supported Japan and they became this economic miracle, and they're
Singapore.
Living, they're living in some
to
of
an
the
extent.
highest.
I mean, Singapore is very, very strict, almost dictatorship strict.
Yeah,
but it is capital. It's very Singapore's weird.
To be fair, to say that to be capitalist means you're good is wrong. But Japan, South Korea is real bad. South Korea, for the longest time, was run by dictators in the South. It wasn't until later on when it became really hard to be a dictator and still hold power without being, absolute. It comes to the point where high standards of living in South Korea, higher than ours in most places. Same with Japan. I have a friend who was in Japan. Super high, like a high value of living.
Very short doorways, though.
Yeah, well, you can't help people and cultures, but it's the idea that like these show that the not capitalism, but the democracy of it works, and It doesn't work perfect, but it works. And it can flourish anyone because as soon as you give people personal freedoms, they will fight harder than someone who's thrown a gun and told that their God doesn't exist. Now, if you die, pick up the guy's rifle next to you. If the guy next to you dies, you pick up his rifle and you keep fighting. They're not going to want to.
No.
The fucking Red Army showed that, where, yeah, their resolve to fight resulted in them dying the worst in World War II. More than half the deaths are Russian.
Yeah.
Because they were told, you do not turn around, you keep fighting. And that's not what won them the war.
No.
What won them the war was the fact that when they started pushing, the Western world got afraid and attacked harder. And that's what won the war, is that the Russians held firm, and not America, but Britain stood harder. It was the fact that America was able to actually send fresh troops to support them is what really finished it off. Germany was never going to win that war, by the way. There's no way they would have ever won.
It was an uphill battle. And then Japan severely fucked up.
Japan really fucked up. And even the general who basically had that order done, he knew.
He knew. He even said it. All we have done is just ended it.
That's actually a misquote. It was never said. That's actually...
Oh, no, I'm just saying he knew all they had done was just ended that war.
He said we have 6 months. If we do not win the war in 6 months, America is going to win the war. But they expected a bloody to the death. They never expected a bomb to drop, which was not dropped to end the war in Japan. It was dropped to tell the Russians to fuck off. And end the war.
Yes and no. A little bit of both. Because, I mean, and I will always stand on this side. I think it's horrible what happened. But at the same time, the other option was even worse.
I like that we're staying on the history, by the way.
Yeah, we are.
We started out with film history. We went from
we went hardcore history. But no, what people don't realize is
my thing.
The Japanese at that point were so dug into every piece of land you could put a human being on in the ocean. So at that point, the only way to truly win that war was either Japan surrenders, or we would have to go island to island, literally exterminating every inch of their military force until we got to the mainland of Japan, and then go boots on the ground and take over Japan. Japan would not exist as a country if we did not drop the bombs.
It still would have existed. It just would have been very different.
It would be in American territory.
Yeah, it would be straight up American.
We would not have given it back.
No, it wouldn't. It would be another Vietnam. Because the reason we dropped the bomb when we did and why we did, the big reason, yes, it would have ended the war sooner and that calculation was always in their mind. But the real reason is because the Russians turned around and looked at Japan, and America's like, we cannot let Japan fall into Russian hands. Russia just took South Korea. They took Manchuria back. This is a problem.
And, I mean, on top of that, even if we, and kind of exploring this, just from a strategic view, you do a lot of civs, so you might kind of agree with me on this.
That's a bad example, but continue.
Well, if we took Japan, I feel like the U.S. would have wanted to keep that. I mean, all the way up until this day, because Japan is a good springboard for any attack in the Asian area.
We did not want Japan. Actually, funny story. Let's talk about Axis powers and war criminals. Clearly, we didn't get Hitler because he did it himself. Mussolini was done in by his own people. We have Toho. Why was he never convicted? Why was none of the Japanese convicted? Strategy. If we left the emperor alive, kept him in somewhat power, but forced a democracy on them, they become a bulwark. The thing they didn't expect, though, Japan gave up their military. We actually told them no. We told them, no, keep your military. No, the military's fine. Keep it. Keep the military. We're going to need that. Russia's right there.
Yeah.
China is on their side. You need the military. And they're like, no, never again. And to the Japanese credit, it wasn't no military because, we need to look weak. Military bad. We can't have no. It was the idea that they said we're not ready to have one yet.
Right.
They weren't ready because they said that they were so ashamed of what they did. And they won't say exactly what they did because they want to forget about Nanking. And we remember Nanking, they want to forget the atrocities that they did. But don't forget, some of the Nazis got off of their crimes because America committed similar atrocities.
Yep.
And we don't like to talk about it, but it's something we have to discuss because, like I said, you have to talk about the awful things that we've done because we've gotten better. We've moved past them.
Right.
We talk about slavery because we're moving past it. We're fighting racism because we're trying to move past it. We talk about the internment camps that we had because we're trying to move past them. You have to talk about the bad things because that's what makes us better.
Right.
And that's why I like when you look at how World War II was handled. It was a shit show at the end. At the very end of the war, it wasn't the glorious victory. It was a shit show because we looked at Russia and said, "Fuck, we're still in this."
Yep.
And we ain't gonna end it until the end of the Cold War. Until '91, we were still in it until we were the last power standing. And now Germany's coming back. They're becoming a power. They're actually becoming a very great power. Russia has become big again on the world stage after their collapse. Britain not so much, but they tend to have a little sway in the world. We're slowly exiting the sole superpower stage.
Yeah.
And I think that scares a lot of people, but I think that's fine because we need that balance. Because when we were the only ones, that's when terrorism really took off.
Yeah.
When you're the only one, that's a problem.
And kind of jumping on that terrorism track, have you ever watched Black Hawk Down?
Yes.
That incident plays more in American history than a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
The only reason that was an issue is because of bin Laden. That helicopter that got hit never actually got hit with an RPG. It never physically made contact with the helicopter.
Mm.
But bin Laden actually trained the people down there how to set their RPGs up so that they will go so long and then explode.
Yeah.
And the explosion in the shrapnel is what damaged the helicopter, therefore taking it down. If he didn't teach them how to do that, that shot would have missed. That helicopter would have stayed flying. It never would have been an issue.
And if we didn't train bin Laden, then we wouldn't have that
Yep.
worry. But
Well,
at the same time,
we
if
had
Russia
that.
didn't try to take Afghanistan, we wouldn't have had that to begin with.
Right.
If
there's
Russia,
a lot. But,
that's what I'm saying. I was about to go all the way back. If Russia didn't have Stalin, the reason Russia is the way it was is because of Stalin. Without Stalin was only a creation because of the Communist Revolution and Lenin.
Yeah.
That was because the Germans during World War I were trying to disrupt Russia to get them out of the war, so they brought Lenin in. Germany was because they had an alliance system with Serbia. Franz Ferdinand fucking takes a bullet because of Bosnian resentment for the fact that the German Confederacy was taking over land. The German Confederacy exists because all the German-speaking nations decided to get together because the fucking Roman Empire was so sought after its fall that the Pope kept naming kings, which fucked up the whole system. The only reason the Roman Empire fell is because Germanic tribes and all this other forces collapsed in on itself, and that's from madness. Everything comes back in history. You can peel away those pieces, and you'll see that, man, all our problems can probably stem from, like, these few key moments. One being the fall of the Roman Empire is probably what kick-started, not the modern world, I think that's the 7 Years' War.
Yeah.
Kick-started the modern age. Or at least the modern way of thinking.
It started the snowball effect of what we see today.
George Washington literally fucking up a fort accidentally during the beginning of the French and Indian War, which is the beginning of the 7 Years' War, is what started this chain reaction of awful not all awful. There's some good, but you have to see the awful because the awful is what usually pushes us forward. The good is what makes us justify the awful.
Right.
And it's very nihilistic to say it, but that's kind of true.
Yeah.
But that's how I pull back history. That's how we have to learn history. Is not dates and numbers and names.
But
say like you also could use history as learn from our mistakes to.
yeah,
Absolutely. Which is why I say you always talk about the darkest parts of your history first, because then when you bring out the light, you can see that, yeah, I'm going to get real fucking controversial, and I'm definitely not cutting this out because I believe in this. Concentration camps was a tactical necessity in war until Hitler fucking perfected it. And then we realized how scary it is.
right.
The atomic bomb was a tactical, fair thing until we walked into Japan and said, holy shit, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
These things are commonplace until someone does it perfect.
Yep.
And then we see the horror that it is. We had internment camps for Japanese. This was a thing that existed forever. When you had prisoners, you put them in camps. When you had people you did not like, you put them in camps. This was not a problem until someone industrialized it, perfected it, and did it to such a gruesome level where we went, okay, we gotta stop and hold on and be like, this is a problem. Because America would still be fucking doing that to this day. If the Holocaust didn't happen, we would still be doing that practice. I'm not saying that it's good that these practices got to this level so we can see the bad in it. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that looking back with 2020 hindsight, it was necessary that these terrible things get there. And it's not something I want.
No.
You don't want it.
Well, it's a lot like looking at 9/11, kind of bringing it back to the modern age.
Yeah.
9/11, I wish will never, I hope nothing
As
at
someone
that
living
scale.
in New York, yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
I was an hour away.
Yeah, but you were close enough that you saw the effects.
Yeah.
I never wish for that to happen to this country.
You don't want it to happen.
9/12, look at what happened to our country. It didn't matter what race you were. It didn't matter what creed you were, what religion you were.
It did.
But you get my point. We all came together. It doesn't matter. We're all Americans.
We all came together, unless you were Muslim. But that's, once again, that was, like I said, it's the thing where, yes,
it was an understandable fear at that point. I'm not saying justified, but understandable.
Like I said, hindsight, unjustifiable. At the time, you gotta understand the mindset, because now we look back and we're like, that's awful. Like, why would you hate someone just for being Muslim? It's just a religion. It wasn't like all Muslims came together and bombed the thing. These were extremists. But that's 2020 hindsight. Back then, it was like the panic hits in, and you're like, oh shit. And like, I know that in my school there were nasty things said to people who I knew, and I didn't say anything or do anything because at the time I'm like, but they attacked. Right. And now I think about it, I'm like, I feel like such a shit about that, because holy shit. But you gotta understand the lens of the time.
Exactly.
And that's what I think history needs to be. You see the lens of the time. You don't look at the slave owner and be like, well, they were always like, how could they? No, clearly they could be. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, even though and this is a different argument altogether. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. But we still see him as a good person because, well, one, he did denounce slavery in all its forms. He tried to remove it, but understood that the southern states would not go peacefully unless that was enshrined in law. And even Jefferson was able to do the idea of, well, we're not going to put in law. It's not in the Constitution. But freeing them isn't in the Constitution either. That's how Jefferson got away with it.
Right.
He basically said, we're not putting slavery in, period. So there's no abolitionist, there is no pro. It was just, we're leaving it to the next generation to deal with.
Right.
The only thing they enshrined in law is the slave trade was to end, because that's a European practice, and fuck Europe. Because that was the American sentiment, and why the Monroe Doctrine, I believe, was the one where it's, if you're from Europe, not from Europe, if you're a European nation, get the fuck off my hemisphere.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Monroe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I believe it's the Monroe Doctrine, and it's Truman Doctrine was the one where we gave money to people to say, fuck communism, here's money. Fuck communism, here's some money.
Yeah.
We'll go fight on your behalf, and then like years later, shit, we shouldn't have done that shit.
Yeah. And that's why we do what we do now. But no, jumping back to Mogadishu and the Black Hawk Down incident, as most people are going to know it. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Bin Laden is the one who taught the militia how to do that. When the fight got bloody. First off, fuck the politicians and the upper chain of command on that one, because they totally fucked our guys over. They could have they had them on the base, literally walked by them as they're getting in the helicopters, AC-130s. You could have put one of those up in the air, ended that entire incident in about 15 minutes. I mean, that plane can literally shoot 3 different size rounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got a mass group of people coming down on your guys that have every intention to kill them, and killed a lot of our guys. I mean, you could have ended that very quickly, but they refused to send those planes. But that entire incident, we backed off. And then after that, we left. We just said, okay, screw what's going on. It's no longer our problem. And we left. Which, that sent the signal to the, people on the other side, on the higher ups, Bin Laden, one of them, several others, that when the going gets tough and it gets bloody, the U.S. takes a knee and backs off. That's the signal they got, that we're not willing to take that fight, which then led to the official forming and the, strength of the Taliban, which then led to 9/11, which, now leads to ISIS. So like you said, everything can be traced back. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy, but like I said, you can pick out these key moments. It's like, I wonder if we would have stayed and we would have fought out in Mogadishu. Would 9/11 have even happened?
To kind of bounce back to the whole entire film and the history behind it, I think and not to get into politics on it, is for the Hitler part of history, I think the best films that kind of go into that, when Germany was trying to invade England and Poland, would be Guernsey, the literary, or Potato Peel Pie and Literary Club or something like that from Netflix, the Netflix original film is a pretty good one, and The Book Thief.
I forget the other one that was made in Germany that's really good, and it's a whole thing on the German side of the war and how the average soldier had no idea what was going on. I can't remember the name of the movie. I watched it in school, and it's really good. It's about this random German kid gets put into the army, and he's fed all the stuff about Nazism, and then halfway through he realizes he's like, I was here to fight for Germany, and I feel like that's kind of faded away. And I can't remember the name of the movie. God damn it. It's so good, though.
I like how those two kind of go into, a person's point of view on it. And it's even though it's a fictional person, it still goes into the correct history of it. But it's through a different fictional person's eyes and everything.
Yeah.
The Guernsey one was actually written about a book a girl sat down and read in an airport about Guernsey, and she just added a fictional character to that story. And then The Book Thief is through a little girl's eyes, and she finds one book and learns how to read it, but learns how to read when they're trying to teach people not to read about Hitler and all the things that Hitler's done, and he's burning all the books and all that. And she finds one book and starts reading and learns how to read through that.
Yeah.
But it's going through all the having to hide and bombs dropping and hiding the Jews in the house and all that.
They get away from actual historical films into film history, because you mentioned the Book Thief. Have you seen The Bicycle Thief?
No.
Okay, that's another major film. It started an idea of Italian filmmaking, and that's where we go from that to spaghetti westerns, which everyone knows. Those are all the western movies that existed, all the big ones. They're called spaghetti westerns because they weren't filmed in America, they were filmed in Italy. And that's where we get the notion of the West, and then when you actually go out there, it's it looks nothing like the movies. And that's because, besides the fact that they built props in Hollywood, they filmed them in Italy. So you have all these wonderful landscapes that's not a very American landscape, but we somehow think it is now.
Yeah.
But,
what's it really look like? Dust.
Well, not
flat.
dust. Not really dust. It's flat. There is a lot of grass. It's a lot of wheatgrass. And it goes on for miles. Well, where's all the deserty, dusty? They really don't look like that.
Yeah.
Even in Death Valley.
Dust. Just dust and flat and
But,
more dust.
That film was big because it really showcased the idea of what they called Italian realism, which is the idea that when you film people, you could actually take basically the big thing about Italian realism. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I took the film history years ago, but this one I like is similar to what we're doing. Just a bunch of assholes just come in and start doing stuff. That's what Italian realism was. They didn't get extras. They found people on the street and said, I need you to do a thing. Go do a thing. Just act. Go. And it brought about the idea that in film you can just improvise. And that was something that really wasn't a thing. Everything was staged. And Italian realism took the idea of, let's just grab people off the street and just make them into actors right on the spot. And that gave birth to the idea that you can make films in Italy and they can be big. So then spaghetti westerns become a thing. And then Hollywood comes around and says, we can do that.
Smokey and the Bandit. I think
I haven't seen that in so long.
Jackie Gleason, the guy who plays the sheriff, I think he maybe had like 5 planned lines in that entire thing. Everything that man said was just out of his ass.
I was gonna say, kind of like the one you were talking about. They just took people in and kind of did like skits or something like that. Probably it could become like I Love Lucy, where she just literally she started out planning, but somebody says one line, and then from there on, it's just made up. It's
all improv, and that's a big thing. Is that the Italian scene did it first, and the movie I seen was all in Italian. It was 100% an Italian film. I'm not a fan of subtitles, but I mean the film was very good. I took it. With film history, weird countries sometimes do things like weirdly more accurate than others. Like clearly America does the action genre like perfectly. The most obvious one, France knows how to do rom-coms. They're probably the only country that does. If you watch the movie Amelie, it's fantastic. It's the only time I'll be like, yeah, I'll sit through a rom-com because it's funny. It's legitimately funny. There are really emotional times where I'm like, oh, that's really. I mean, like, I feel for that character. And there are times where the romance actually feels real. While in most rom-coms, it's like, yeah, they're together because they have to do a thing.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's not really that funny. There's some funny moments.
She's a wedding planner. He's the divorce agent. And they end up getting married.
But then you get...
Let me guess, that was a real one?
I think that was Wedding Planner
That's
with Jennifer Lawrence.
That's literally 99% of the Hallmark Channel.
Okay, like my mom and I explained, the Hallmark Channel is for girls who either, like, you're showing your daughters what a guy should be.
But that's like porn for men. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. A man will never look at a woman and be like,
there is a
I know
Hallmark
exactly
fan out
what
there.
she wants.
Tell
me I'm wrong.
There's
I
a
dare
Hallmark fan
you.
out there, and I am going to say it is Youth Pastor Ryan. He is a Hallmark guy. He is a Hallmark man.
But that's all staged. That is all acting staged.
He is not staged. He's on TikTok. He is an actual person.
Okay, first off, if they're on media, do you think I'm really...
staged.
Okay, this is a really bad example. Do you think I'm really like this off the mic?
Yes.
Don't answer that!
Yes. But here's the thing. Tell me I'm wrong. Have you ever looked at a woman without her saying a word, just looked at her and gone, I know exactly what she's thinking, and been right?
I've never looked at another human being and thought anything other than, I hope I don't fuck up.
Thank you.
We all know
So
you're not gonna be able to read our
guys,
lines.
look, okay, here's the problem with Hallmark. Hallmark teaches you a man should know exactly what to do to make you feel better, which is the farthest thing from the truth. Girls,
really.
Here's my advice if you're a woman out here and you're listening.
We've lost our way from film history.
We have. But we're now in relationship
Don't
advice.
worry about it. Give your shitty advice and I'm going to go right back into it to go.
No, this isn't shitty advice because you'll agree.
Okay.
I will bet money that you'll agree with this. If you want your man to do something, first off, realize that we work like boxes, okay? We're in our thinking box. We're thinking about a certain thing. If you ask us to take the trash out while we're thinking about something, like if you're editing a video and you're thinking about how you're going to do that, if somebody says, I need you to take the trash out, just kind of passing by. It's you probably hear it, you might answer to it, but it does not register.
I
The
don't
second
want to say
thing-
you're right.
If you want something, ask. If you want us to buy you chocolate or take you to a movie, say, hey, I want chocolate, or take me to a movie. We will be more than happy.
But see, the thing is we know that you have to ask, and we will, but we kind of expect you to be a romantic like they do in
And that's
Hallmark.
fair.
And that's
fair.
the problem. No, but the thing is, it's not about reading minds. It's about knowing who the person is and just spontaneously being like, I'm thinking about you. Here's the thing that makes me think about it. But the problem is that when we do it, it's in little ways, and it's never going to be this big, overblown, and that's what's expected. And that's
fair.
the thing. But to be honest, it does work the other way. Women can just straight up tell you, I want to sleep with you, and I'll be like, no, they don't. Clearly, this is a trap.
That is 100% fair. I mean, I think it's conditioned, but that's 100% fair. But no, like, and I've actually seen that. Like, I've seen a guy walk up and be like, "Hey, I know this is dumb, but this made me think of you." And I mean, it could be something stupid, like something he found on the street.
But if you know
Like,
the person,
I found
you
a
know
seashell.
that was truly
A
romantic
it made me
thing.
think of you.
We're not expecting like you to show up with a big, huge teddy bear, chocolate, flowers, and a Valentine's card.
Okay,
I have
first
an
off,
ex that will say the difference.
first
Not
off,
expecting you to do
every
that.
man that sees a man walking around with a giant teddy bear, flowers, and chocolate and a card, we're like, how
What did he do?
bad did he?
What did he do?
How bad did he fuck up?
To be fair, if I'm carrying around a giant teddy bear, there's a 50% shot that's mine.
True.
But the
That
flowers,
makes
chocolate, and
Scooby
card.
Doo that's sitting right there.
The flowers, chocolate, and card kind of sells it.
Well, I
If I
like
see you-
chocolates. The flowers is weird.
If I saw you carrying flowers, a card, a heart-shaped box of chocolates, and a teddy bear the size of me, I'm gonna be like, ooh,
But,
Rich
like, if
fucked
you
up
showed
bad.
on Valentine's Day, if you like had a seashell and you're like, I thought of you. It could have been. We could see it as, oh, we had a cute time on the beach, and that's the most romantic thing ever that you thought about us when you found the seashell about the beach.
Now look, and Rich.
I put the seashell as payment towards what's happening tonight.
But Rich, tell me I'm wrong. This is a conversation that most people who've been in a relationship have had. What's wrong, babe? Nothing. Okay. Because again, men are simple.
I don't
We're
want to say you're
stupid.
right. I'm
We're
not going to say you're wrong, but I don't want to say you're right.
But hold on. Nothing. Okay. Really? Okay, what's wrong? Do I really have to tell you? If I'm asking what's wrong, first off, yes, you have to tell me because clearly I'm oblivious.
Those
But
snotty
like,
girls that do that.
No,
Yeah,
that's people
That's
you
a-
don't expect to. That's actually
Because I'd
the
be
most.
truthful. If I had a relationship and they asked me what's wrong, I'd be truthful to them. I'll tell
Then
them
you're
what's
the
wrong.
exception, not the rule.
But there's also the idea that it's not just every time. There's certain moments where that becomes a thing because that's actually a human condition where you want to say something but you don't because you're hoping that the person. And this is something I don't experience because not just because I'm a guy, but because I'm a fixer. There's a fixer, and then there's I don't want to say complainer because that's not really the right word. It's more of they need an emotional outlet,
right.
and they're hoping that when you say no, that you do something to let them like be that emotional outlet. They don't want something fixed. They want to cry about it. They want to complain
so
about
like
it.
If she says nothing, you at least could probably give her a hug if you know that she's upset.
But it's not just a girl thing. This is literally a human thing.
Yeah.
Guys
Yeah.
do it, but we do it differently. Most guys will do it in silence, but that's because we're conditioned to do it. I know guys who won't. They will do the same. They're like, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. And they'll do that, but that's just the thing. Women are allowed to going really far out of the history. Girls are not necessarily expected, but they're allowed to have emotional outbursts because that's a gender thing. For guys, if they do it, it's like, what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
Man
now
up.
everyone's like, I'm
Yeah.
making faces and no one can see.
The-
But I'm basically backing away like, I don't know what's
Oh,
going
yeah.
on.
Everybody will look at you and either like walk away or just look at you and be like, man up.
All right,
The
but
amount of times I've been told to man up.
yeah, that's another whole can of worms I don't want to get into right
I
now.
know, right? That's a
That's
long
easy.
conversation.
But to get back onto film history and wrap us up, Hallmark Channel is the same movie reproduced a million times. Lifetime is just mostly hating on men. And then Spike TV is literally just how to keep your guy from talking for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, for real.
You don't want your guy bothering you, just put on Spike TV and it'll be fine. Well, that's how it used to be. Now it's different.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it's like, just put on Spike TV and he'll shut up. Or put football on, he'll shut up.
No, I think one of my favorite things I've seen on TikTok, and it was a girl saying it, and she goes, girls, and don't take this the wrong way, this isn't about like gender assignments or anything like that, but like if you see your man in the garage and he's working on the car, and she pulled up a tap and die set, and she's like, if you see one of these tool sets out next to him, she goes, I'm gonna give you the best advice that you can do, because when you have a tap and die set, that means one of two things has happened. Either a bolt you went to take off broke the head off and the bolt is still stuck in whatever it is and holding it. So you have to literally drill that bolt out and re-tap the hole and get a new bolt, which is super frustrating and you have to be really accurate. But, something along those lines. It's not a good day and it's going to take all day. She goes, make him a sandwich, grab him a beer, don't say anything, just set it down and walk away. She's like, has nothing to do with gender assignments. Just know that
a woman could be doing it. Do the same thing.
Yeah. She goes, if they're working with a tap and die set, they're ready to kill. And don't come home with your problems right then because they're not in the emotional state.
And on that gender thing, once again, to try to wrap up, if you were a man and offended when I said that put football on, he'll shut up. How do you think women feel when you say that about Hallmark?
I know, right?
I said both because I believe in both. It's like if you want me to shut up, just put on cartoons. It'll be fine.
Ron White talking about the diamond commercials. Diamonds will render her speechless. Why don't they just come out and say it? Diamonds. That'll shut her up for a minute.
Well, here's the thing about... Okay, I can't get into this. We'll go into it. Diamonds is a dying industry because diamonds are just rocks and they're actually practically worthless in most ways. We put value on it. All right, we're done for the day. Haley, since you're our guest, you get to roll for next week's topic. Because this is already a 2-hour podcast, even with all the cuts.
There's going to be a lot of them.
10?
Didn't we just do 10?
We do a re-roll if we get the same number again.
Okay.
We do a re-roll. I think we set that precedent in 2.
18.
People! The last one we didn't do. It's coming back. Well, next week we'll figure it out what we're going to do about people. So, I've been Ricky Rogue.
This has been your idiot, Chris.
Haley.
And thank you for tuning in and listening to our bullshit for 2 hours. Like and subscribe, share, do the bullshit, clip our shit. I don't care.
Don't clip it because that can be taken out.
Please clip it. Spread us like wildfire so people watch and then get the context. Thanks everyone. We'll see you later. Editor Ricky, take us out.